So I really believed he had changed and I trusted him. I believed this time that it was different until I saw his phone. Well, welcome back, everyone, to part 4.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's getting pretty sticky. If you watch the other videos, thank you so much for like sticking with us and waiting to hear the final part of our story.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to pick up where we left off. We had Joshua, our third baby, and everything was good. Everything was beautiful. God really was doing a work in our marriage. And I was, things take time. You can't go from one extreme to the next in the course of a relationship. You have to build trust. You have to see character traits being developed in your significant other.
Yeah.
And so it was taking time, but for the most part, it looked okay. He was still playing video games, so that hadn't really changed. But I think the way we talked to each other was the first thing that actually was feeling different.
Yeah, it was starting to change.
Mm-hmm.
You were keeping me more in mind and how I felt versus what I did,
Mm-hmm.
if that made sense.
I guess.
Like, you were keeping my feelings in mind when you were talking to me, so you wouldn't just spit out the first thing in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, because our tongues can be like a sword and they can be very sharp. And my tongue can be very sharp. So during this time, I had decided to go back to school before I got pregnant
Mm-hmm.
because I had seen I looked down the road and I saw us possibly splitting. So I thought, I need to go to school. I need to prepare in case something happens. And obviously, we were not in the best relationship. So I was in school. I have Josh. And fast forward about 6 or 9 months later, everything's going good. We had actually just got brand new phones, and he got a new iPhone. I got a new iPhone, and I had no reason in my mind to not trust him. And I'm not like, I had Facebook on my phone, but I didn't have any. I'm not an app person. I didn't play games on my phone. I'm not like that. He has all kinds of games. He has different streaming apps that he'll watch.
Used to. I don't really do that anymore. Well, okay, I was thinking video games. Shows, that's a different story. Video games, I had like Twitch and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was stuff that how I watch other streamers. But
And you were actually streaming.
a little bit, but I wasn't getting very much like traction or anything like that.
Yeah, but you were trying to
Yeah, I
build
was
that.
trying to, trying to get that influencer train going, but
Mm-hmm.
when everything was starting to pop off, but
So he was trying to build some sort of thing online, because he did play video games a lot. So, I mean, that hadn't really changed. Maybe he played a little less. Maybe he would like look at me if I came to talk to him while he was playing games. But I think the number one thing that had changed was the way we spoke to each other.
yeah.
So that was pretty much that.
And just to emphasize, just because you're not cursing at the person
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean your words don't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because not once did she curse at me.
Right.
Not once. Not once did I curse at her. Through the whole ordeal from day one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just
Mm-hmm.
because you're not, I didn't curse at her or I didn't do this. Words are heavy and they cut real deep.
So this brings us to, I'm looking at his phone on the couch. He's playing behind, in our living room. We had an office behind the living room, and he was playing online. And I thought that this was a good place for the computer because it was out for everybody. We could all see what everybody was doing, and it was in a public place. You couldn't really hide anything. So I'm looking on his phone, and I just go through his Snapchat, like, okay, because he had a different phone than I did, and I did not have the cool filters. So I was looking at it, not looking for anything, mind you. I really wasn't like, oh, let me see what I can dig up. Let me go through his text messages. And I honestly think that it was God that showed me or allowed me to see this because, Snapchat, everything disappears. For some reason, there were some messages that were saved between him and another lady. Very inappropriate. So I'm sitting on the couch and I literally could not breathe. My breath was just like, I could not believe what I was seeing. I just felt so betrayed and lied to. And just when the way you feel when somebody tells you everything you want to hear and you actually believe them. And I'm sorry for the eye rolling. I'm sorry for the eye rolling. He was telling me you roll your eyes a lot. But it's because I'm a very expressive person. And I can't hide the way I feel on my face. So betrayal isn't a deep enough word. I can't find another word to express my devastation is how I felt. I felt devastated because I thought finally everything was going to be better and I was going to stay married and I was going to have this degree and I have this beautiful baby that we love and brought us together. Like, God, how could you trick me like that? It was like a guise, or it was like, I thought I was going to get this, but this is what I got. And it was not this, what I pictured in my mind. So I was heartbroken. I was really, really heartbroken. And I immediately start screaming at him once I caught my breath. And I'm like, my heart's racing. I'm sweating. He's sitting right there. He has no idea what I'm looking at. So then I start questioning because I can't.
Yeah, it wasn't a question. It was just.
I was like,
0 to 100. 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah. And he had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So I started screaming at him. And I'm like mad. Like all I see is red. I just see red.
Just anger.
And he's like, what are you talking about? Denial. And then I'm like, this right here, what does this mean? So then obviously I want to go and dig deeper. He does let me look through his phone. And obviously I can't see everything, but nobody wants to see that. It literally, I feel like he just ripped my heart out, ripped it in half and threw it on the ground and stomped on it. Because all this time I've given you everything. I've apologized. I've birthed 3 children. I've taken care of our home. I feel like my side, I feel like I give and I give and I give and I get nothing back. And every time you lie to me, every single time. And I was done. At that point, I was like, I don't know. I'm done. You're not staying in this house tonight. Finally, I cooled off and I was like, I'm not sleeping in the same bed with you. I felt like, the Bible says when the two become one. And I felt like, now he did not, let me just preface, he did not actually have a physical relationship per se with this person. They didn't live in the same state. So it was, over the phone, over the internet. But I still felt like my marriage bed was defiled. And I never did that. I never gave myself to somebody else. Once I said I do, I was yours. And I didn't, cheat isn't even a good word. It's like we are one and our soul becomes like we were one. And you took that and you took advantage of me. And it hurt really, really bad. So I kick him out.
So when she told me that I had to get out of the house, and here's my thought process, right? Because in my mind, right, it wasn't like I was out having, physical relationships with other women, right? So in a man's mind, it's not that big of a deal. But the problem is it was a big deal. It was a huge deal, right? Because the things that you and your wife have in common or you guys do with each other, it's sacred. And I know this now. So I had to pack up and leave. Didn't know where I was going to go.
For 3 days. He was like,
It
well,
was,
how long am I going to be gone?
yeah.
And I said, I gave him an answer. In my mind, I'm like, you are not coming home for a while, buddy. But I told him like 3 days just because I didn't want to deal with them. And he said, fine, whatever.
I don't even remember that because what I remember was that you wouldn't let me come home, no matter how much I tried.
Yeah.
Did not let me come back home
Mm-hmm.
because, again, in my mind, it wasn't that big of a deal. And
why wasn't it a big deal?
Because I didn't have a physical relationship with somebody. I didn't go out and have sex with this person, or you know what I mean. And this is why, like at the beginning, words have a lot of weight to them. Mm-hmm. The way you talk, I was talking inappropriate with other people, but you know, it's it's no nice way to put it, right? Like I could probably come up with something, but it's not going to make any difference. Like what I did is what I did. I shouldn't have done it. Mm-hmm. And at the time, again, it wasn't a big deal because I didn't have a physical relationship with somebody. But it's where your heart is, right? Mm-hmm. You know, just because you didn't physically have a relationship with somebody, but your heart did. And so I crashed at a buddy's place. I thought it was going to be a couple of days. You know, I said, this is going to pass over. You know, she'll let me back in. You know, she's going to school. I mean, she just closed. I think you closed the daycare down that time, mm-hmm. Or did you have the daycare still?
No, I closed the daycare down, and I was a full-time student. So, you know, at this point in time, I really fully did depend on Ashton, and I always have depended on you. You've always been the bread, you know, the provider.
Mm-hmm. I don't even have a job now, and I still am.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, I was like, she can't go along without me. Seriously, I paid everything. I paid the bills. The only thing that I couldn't pay for was her school, and we had to take loans out for that. Mm-hmm. You know, but you know, a couple days turn into a week. You know, and you know, I'm still like, you know, trying to live my life, and still I would help, you know, with the kids. Every now and then she would allow me to come home to grab some stuff. Mm-hmm. But we were technically separated.
Yeah. His memory is not as good as my memory, so
sometimes
my memory I might not remember my flaws, but I remember his. But
I mean, yeah. Okay. Well,
for the most part, that's accurate.
That's yeah. And then during that time, I was still playing video games. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You want to say what you did?
Well, while he's gone, I'm digging for more because I would like to share something that really cut me really deep, but I don't think for his sake I'll share that. But I realized all of this was going on between him and this girl while I was pregnant, up until the day I gave birth. The night I gave birth, and I didn't see anything after that. So that really, because I want to talk about how, not to like drag you through the mud, but how impactful it is when somebody betrays your trust, and how significant that birth was for me. It was like a turning point in our marriage. So I believed like, okay, God was like, I had this vision and I felt his presence, and he's on his knees all the while he's still talking to this person, mind you. And I see the dates, you know, of these mm-hmm. messages. So I'm like, well, there's literally no turning back from this. And then at some point I was like, what? I mean, I was like, when the Bible talks about the groanings of your spirit when you're praying, like you can't even, you don't utter words. It's just groanings.
Yeah.
I had never prayed like that. And I literally was groaning in my spirit while I was praying because I kicked him out. He's staying at his friend's house. I'm not really talking to him. I'm going about, I'm like, I'm going to just take on this single mom role. All the while, God gave me peace. I really wasn't, I was mad. I was angry and bitter. You have these feelings first. But I had peace. And I knew that I was going to be okay. Whatever happened, God gave me that peace. It surpassed all understanding. Mm-hmm. But I'm still praying. I'm still praying for him, laying on his side of the bed, weeping. I mean, ugly face crying, weeping, and groaning in my spirit. And I see him just still online, still streaming. I'm thinking maybe he's talking to people on, because he would be up to like 3 o'clock in the morning before I kicked him out. And at his friend's house, he was still doing that. He was still gaming. So I'm thinking he's not changing. He literally does not care. His life is exactly the same with or without us. So he's up and I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I'll just check on him. So I make this fake email. I have no idea what Twitch is. I have no idea what the heck this stuff is, but I'm like figuring it out. And so, because you can like watch these players go online while they're playing and they're talking. So I like got onto his stream and was like watching, and it was like actually really boring to me. So I didn't stay on there very long. But then I later told him, that it was me. Because I was like, what is he doing? I wasn't talking to him. I didn't see what was going on. And are we going to stay together? Are we not? I don't know. So I end up talking to one of our deacons, I think, mm-hmm. at the church. And, because he was still playing on Sundays.
Well,
and I was still singing on stage because we were a part of the band. Every now and
then, because at that time, you started going to a different church because you weren't getting spiritual.
When we split, I did start going to a different church a little bit after, but I still, because I reached out to this guy at our church, and he's like, I'll help you. Our family will do whatever you need, Scarlett. Like, we feel like Ashton's in the wrong here. So I was looking at divorce lawyers. I was looking at how am I going to make a living? How am I going to provide for my kids while I'm in school? I don't have my degree yet. And I mean, it was very bleak. Still had peace. I wasn't afraid. I was not afraid of what was going to happen.
She's going through all this stuff. I'm on stage one Sunday morning during sound check. I don't remember what song it was.
I wasn't there.
No. I don't remember what song it was. We're going on like week 3 or 4 at this point of me being away from my family, and what I'm seeing is that she's starting getting into this routine of that she can handle this by herself. She can handle all 3 kids by herself. What I was looking for her, like what I was looking for when I was about to leave her the first time, now it's like the other way around again, and it's like God showing me this is what it's gonna be like if you would have left, right? And I just wanted to come back home. I wanted to see my kids, whatever I had to do. But anyways, one Sunday morning, I was at church by myself. I was on stage, and don't remember what song it was, but it spoke to me like pretty clear, right? And I just broke down to the point where I walked off stage in the middle of a set, and I go behind the stage, and I'm weeping against the wall. I'm crying, and then I begin to cry out to the Lord. And I said, I will do anything to have my marriage back. Anything. I will give you my life if you give me my marriage back. It was a deal I made with God. I said, I don't care what I have to do. I will give you my life for the rest of the time I'm on earth, and I'll devote my life to you 100% if you give me back my marriage and you give me back my family. Crying out to the Lord for the very first time in a long time to fix something I screwed up. Mm-hmm. So you know, after I did that, I mean, I'm like crying for like 15 minutes and weeping to the Lord. And I come back, and this is like the start of a journey of like my heart fully giving 100% to the Lord. And keep in mind, like the times that the time that I went down to my wife crying at her feet, asking for forgiveness, for her to forgive me and everything else, I meant those, right? I truly meant those. But yet I still fell at my flesh. Like I fell to my flesh.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until where I lost everything that I truly turned my life over and gave it to Christ. I said, it was literally a deal, you know? So after that, I came back on stage, finished the set, and I had a mentor, um, because I needed a man mentor. And it was,
From counseling.
yeah, well, it wasn't from counseling. It was before counseling, but it was a man mentor. And, you know, I told him, I said, I need to be with my wife. We cannot be in two separate churches. So if I'm trying to work this thing out with my wife, I'm going to have to go to church with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so that began that road. We kind of started dating again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we literally, she had some event at school and we would get dressed up and we went.
Mm-hmm. And he couldn't come home with me.
I couldn't come home. I tried.
Yeah. So, were you finished?
I was going to say, you called me in the middle of the night to come home, but.
I mean, look, we were a married couple and we both, you know, even while somebody hurts you, you're still mad. I still loved him. I did. Yeah. He hurt my heart. He really did. And I mean, but the people who you love the most will hurt you the deepest, because they have that ability to hurt you. Other people you don't care because they're not in that, you know, they don't have a special place in your heart. But the people you care the most about, that's why it hurts so bad. Yeah. And all the while he's doing these things, we end up going to counseling. Yeah. And our church ends up paying for it where he grew up.
I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
So thankful.
So thankful. Yeah.
And I really wish he was still alive to this day, because he saved our marriage. That pastor that we took that marriage counseling class with.
Well, he allowed God to, you know, use him and use his gifts and everything he went to school for to really, you know, help other people. Yeah. And we went to this intensive, which normally they do for like big events, and they saw, you know, like they really need this. So we couldn't afford it. Our church pays for it, and we go to 2 days straight for like 6-hour days.
A day, yeah.
And we lay it all on the table. He has us do a list of things, and this was the most amazing counseling I had ever received. We had been to, like, you know, other churches, other pastors, but that wasn't their ministry. That wasn't their calling. And this man, that was his ministry. That was his calling. And God used him. So we learn all these things. We do all these things to, which we may have a video about that later, what exactly like specifics were, because I think that was what helped us to grow. But basically, we had to read our Bible every day. He, you know, gave Ashton, this is what you do every single day. You get up, you sing praises and hymns. What else was it?
There were like Bible verses, like little Bible verse cards that you could read every single day.
Checking
in, literally just staying in the Word. That was it.
But through this, we were able to realize, okay, what is the root? What is the root of all of this? Why does this keep happening? And what we realized was it was addiction. And he had us read this book called The Addictive Personality, because anything, and so what it ends up, I listening to it on Audible, and he ends up listening to it on Audible.
But the P word, right, is a destructive thing. What it does to your mind and what it represents, it is not good. It distorts the way you look at women.
Mm-hmm.
It distorts the way you look at marriage. And that's the problem with society now. People think it's okay that everybody looks at this stuff. No. It skews the way you look at your significant other, because it skews the way that something divine that was given from God, right, into something dirty, perverted,
Mm-hmm.
and disgusting. And what it supports in the back end, it is not good.
Yeah.
So the root of that was an addiction to the P word, literally. On top of that, and then the video games too, because I was isolating myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I remember you telling me, like, I'm not depressed.
Yeah.
But he had all these symptoms of depression.
Yeah.
But because he was this big bad Marine, he would never, that's people who talk about their feelings. They're just, sissies or wuss,
Yeah.
But really that's why he was isolating himself. And he ended up, confessing, like, I don't like myself.
Yeah.
But when you read this book, and I highly recommend this book, The Addictive Personality, because it doesn't matter the addiction, whatever it is, you have the same symptoms. The way you don't have the ability to love somebody else because you don't love yourself, and you sink further and further into your addiction because you continue to not like yourself, and you continue to not like your addiction, but you keep doing it because you're addicted.
Yep.
It is a very easy read. It's on Audible. Don't get any, royalties from this, but it is such a good book, and it really opened our eyes and helped me see into his mind, and it honestly, I think, helped you kind of go into your mind and realize why you're doing all these things.
Yeah.
From not hearing it from me, he heard it from his the male counselor.
Yep.
You should have a male counselor if you're a married couple, I believe, or a couple to counsel you. But and then he was reading it through the book, and he had to finish it. He does not like to read, but that was a requirement. And we had these requirements. We had to come up with a list of 3 things that were a SMART goal that you could have the other person read. They would know exactly how to do what you want, why to do it, and the way to do it, and how, what day of the week. It was like, do this, and this will show me you love me because da 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 da. And so I came up with a list of 3 things, and he came up with a list of 3 things. And we started doing those, and we started dating. I would let him initially come over for dinner because we told the kids he was staying at a friend's house. And then after a while, our oldest is like, why is daddy not coming home? Like, we miss him. And I'm like, well, he's just staying, that's where he is right now. And we didn't want them to know anything about what was going on in adult world. But he would come over and have dinner, and then he'd have to leave. Or he would take me out. We would go to a function, and then he'd drop me off, and then he'd have to leave. So he would leave his house and his wife on the doorstep because we started to develop our relationship and started to develop trust again. After a couple months had went by, because I still had peace. I wasn't fully like, are we getting a divorce? Are we not? I didn't know. But I think you want to tell how you felt like dropping me off, what it was like for you to drop me off.
It sucked. Like, no, I wanted to be in my bed. You know what I mean? I wanted to be next to this woman that I'm falling in love with again. You know what I mean? That I realize what I'm losing. Seeing you getting on with your life, knowing that you could take care of these 3 kids by yourself, I'm like, I need to get back in that house. Because she's going to be like, I could do this. I don't need that guy.
And I was. It sucked, but I was like, you know what? It was, what do you, like, when you just pull up by your bootstraps? That's what I did. I was like, okay, this is life.
Yeah.
go on, get about your business. Bedtime, lunch.
Yeah.
At the time, my kids were in public school or they were in private school, something like that. And, I was still in school, but I mean, I was like, daddy's not here to lay down the hammer, so mommy's got to be daddy too. And y'all better listen, get your
Yeah.
butts in bed,
Yeah.
get up, getting them ready. And it was becoming normal. It wasn't easy, but it was just, you have to do it. What else are you going to do? And I was like, okay, like maybe he's gonna have to look at a place to stay. I don't know, but he is not coming back in.
Yeah.
And he did. He wanted to. Can I come in for tonight? And honestly, it was hard. It was hard to say no because
she had to make a point. Like,
yeah.
Like if she would have just let me in by the end of the week, we wouldn't be here right now. I am confident in saying that.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have just been like, yeah, just come back, don't do it again, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when everything happened, it wasn't until like 2 weeks after, that I 2 or 3 weeks after that I broke down and really begged God to save our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You just really, I was like, he's not getting it. He is not getting it. But then time progressed. We're going to counseling. We're doing all these things. And I do, like, he was confessing a lot to me. We had this thing called taking out the trash. And he, like, from the beginning of your life, everything that bothered you. And when you do this, it shows me that. It was just so, we were doing groundwork. It was like we were ripping away everything, even the foundation.
Yeah.
And we were building it from ground zero because we came into this marriage with all these issues with ourselves.
Yes.
We didn't put the Lord first. We were not, super strong in our faith. We didn't know what a godly marriage should look like. So we literally had to figure this out. And it was time. And maybe this was the change that God was talking about, where I spoke in my last video that I kept hearing that word change. So I'm thinking, okay, is the change you're getting a divorce? Or is the change, what is it? And it was a slow, gradual process, but God really did use everything for his good.
Yeah.
We made some changes. We got rid of like the computer for the most part.
Yeah.
All gaming was out the window.
Yeah.
When I finally did allow him to come back in and move back in with us, I said, you're not supposed to have an ultimatum, but I was like, absolutely not. If you're gonna have these apps on your phone, we're done. If you're gonna have computer games, we're done, because that is not a life, and I did not want. That's not a life.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my chance to make something of myself and have a better life without you.
Yeah.
Or you can change and you can, be a part of this family, because we'd have these talks. I'm like, you're missing it. You're missing out on so much. You're missing out on your kids growing up. You're missing out on me. You don't even enjoy me. And, I wanted to enjoy him. I don't want to drag you with me somewhere because you have to. Like, that's not fun. And it's miserable. And God, I believe, showed you what you were missing. I mean, I remember you saying, I can't believe I'm missing this. Like, this is what I'm missing.
I was, through all that, right? Because you don't see what you're missing because you're so consumed with something else, and I don't remember what happened, but, I was like, man, I've been missing this because of video games. This is fun. This is, again, I don't know what we're doing, but I remember it being fun, me really realizing that my kids are growing up, you know what I mean? And my beautiful wife right next to me. So, I'm like, man, I was missing that the entire time because I was so consumed with other things, so, and after coming back home and really working on our marriage, right? And then I started doing research on like the head of the household and learning that, and God really showing me what the head of the household is supposed to do, right? How am I supposed to love my wife, right? I'm supposed to love my wife like, Christ loved the church, and I can't remember who it was, but someone said you should love your wife like Jesus loved you. You just want to you need to show Jesus, like how Jesus loved the church is how you should love your wife.
Yeah.
You know, God loves us, and if you doubt that, then you should go read your Bible, because he wouldn't have sent his son down to die on the cross for our sins if he didn't love us. You know, that's how we should love our spouse. That's how you should love your wife. I'm speaking to the men here. You should love your wife with a, what's the word? A sacrificial love. Be willing to sacrifice everything for your spouse. That's the kind of love that you're supposed to have in a marriage. And women, you should reciprocate the same thing. You know what I mean? Be worthy enough for a love that is sacrificial for you. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
So, but we'll talk about the head of the household in another video, because I think that's a really good topic. But that's my whole journey through that. Through the whole process, it's like God really reworked and remolded my heart and my mind to step up as the head of the household, because at the time, in our early years of marriage, I was not ready. I thought I was the man I was supposed to be, but I definitely wasn't.
I remember you telling me you thought you were good enough.
Yeah.
You were just like, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, God has to love me. I'm good enough no matter what I do, because he forgives me.
Yeah, and that's the skewed way of thinking of God's love. Like, just because God loves us and you know, sent his son down to die on the cross for our sins, does not give us the rights to go and sin. It doesn't. It doesn't give us the right to do whatever we want. You know, like he told the woman that was caught in adultery, you know, go and sin no more. You know, we have to be Christ-like with our everyday walk, because the way the devil works is that he's just prowling around, waiting for you to just slip up and just demolish you.
Yeah.
And trust me, and I was telling my wife this, I can't remember, it was like do I still get temptations every now and then, but it's like I go back to the word. You know, that's you know, that's my shield. And men, you have to be in the word, because, you know, as a young kid growing up through the church, I wanted to be a missionary at one point. You know, I wanted to be on the stage doing worship music, but how? Because like I couldn't even lead my own family. You know, you want to go out and make all the disciples and stuff like that, start with your family.
Yeah, it starts there.
It starts there, and it starts with yourself. You know, God's not going to give you something when you're not ready for it.
Absolutely.
So
I think we should wrap our video up. I know we have probably a lot more to say.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, we do, but I mean, that's pretty much the sum. That's just a summary of our marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going on 15 years now.
Yeah.
Through the graces of God, he really saved our marriage. You know, we moved out of the house that we bought in the city in Jacksonville. It's like we literally started completely fresh.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
We started, you know, God was reworking my heart. We were reworking my mind, and he was working on you. It's like we took everything up and moved. Yeah. We moved out to a small little town in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And we found a really, really good church with and I've been under our pastor for the last, I think, going on 5 years now. And he has taught me a lot about the word and how I should be as a Christian.
So, I think we should do some videos of what or some, talks about what it looks like as a family when the male is the head of the household, and what that actually looks like for the rest of the members in the family. Because once he came into that role and he really took ownership of that and really was fulfilling that, everything changed. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching all of these videos, to even like the few. We just hope that you will be blessed by this. We hope that you will be encouraged by this and not feel like there's no hope, because we did feel that way.
Yeah.
And just when we felt like there was no hope, that's when everything changed. And sometimes it has to be you fall flat on your face, because you have to realize that you can do nothing without the Lord. And that was the truth. That we were a reflection of that. We couldn't do anything without the Lord. We could try and try and try in vain, but it wasn't until we let the Lord work.
Yeah. We can't do it ourselves.
Yeah. I mean,
we have to lay it at God's feet.
That's right.
You have to lay it. Like it is a miracle. You know what I mean? When you fully surrender to the Lord, miracles starts to happen.
Yeah.
And our marriage is a testimony to that.
Yes.
Keep praying. Keep crying out to the Lord.
Yes. Don't give up.
Do not give up. Do not let divorce be an option.
Yeah. If we would have given up, I mean, our life is just so blessed, and I feel like we are best friends now, and we have so much in common, and we talk about so many different things, and we actually enjoy being in each other's company, and we enjoy like our intimacy has just been so much better. And our, like, I actually want to sit and hug him, and I want to sit on the couch with him or hold his hand, whereas before I didn't want anything. I didn't trust him. But when you have that trust, your relationship is just, we're thriving now.
We try to keep each other's love tank
filled up,
pretty topped off.
Yeah.
That's what we try to do.
Yeah. And it feels good to love somebody the way that they want to be loved.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good to give him things, and it makes him feel good to give me things, whether it's time, whether it's words of affirmation, whether it's gifts, acts of service. We feel good about loving on each other, and it actually, it does something for us.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Yeah.
Make sure you comment and subscribe.
Yeah.
Hopefully our testimony will be powerful words for somebody.
And share it with somebody
who you think is going through it, or they say they're going through it. It's not a lost cause.
Yeah. All right. So. Well, be blessed. Until next time. See ya.
See ya.